Hello everyone, welcome back to this video, and today we will be doing some player movement. This is where we left off at. We left off with our player, and he falls. Just playing with this linear dampening. Just liked it at 3.5 kinda. So I'll just set it back to 0.3, I think it was. I was also playing with this 0.05, I think. And that was the default settings, I think. You might have it different, doesn't really matter. You just don't want the linear dampening that high. So, what we're going to do is player movement and attaching the camera to the player, so also parenting. So first, let's do parenting because it's much more basic. We can parent the camera to the player by dragging the main camera onto the player, not player obj player. Now, that's all we need, but it'll go through the ground, so we want to set Y position to 0 so that it kind of follows the player and get like a third person type of view. Little bit of rotation with the rotation tool and move it with the move tool. So let's do that. One rotation, good one. There we go, and a little closer. You also might want a first person view, but I'm just making it third person because I actually modeled this. You can go download my models for free on GitHub, link in the description, or you can go to the last one. Now we can go. We can make our script. So create folder down here in the assets. Create folder and name it scripts. Now right click in there, double click it, and then right click in it. Here, create mono behavior script. And we're going to name it player underscore movement. So that's going to make it so that it's named that, and we want to attach it to a player because we might maybe have multiple scripts, and you can see it's loading. So we're going to open it in Microsoft Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. Suggest Visual Studio Code or Microsoft Visual Studio, but if you really don't want to use them, they're free, and you don't want to install something that big, then fine, you can use Notepad, but I just like using Microsoft Visual Studio. So, can see we started with all this, and Unity did that for us automatically. So let's get straight into what this all means. You can click around, and the public class player movement. Player movement is the class name, which the class means it's a behavior or a mono behavior the class is attached to something, I think is what it means. I have no idea, that's just what I'm guessing. Mono behavior is the behavior which makes it so it builds once or something. I'm not sure really. That just is defaultly up there. We're not going to edit that ever in this tutorial. You can most of the time use that. You do have to, in multiplayer, I think you have to change it to network behavior, I think. So we're going to go down here in the void update. That means every frame this updates, and you can do that same action again or not do it that frame. So let's get to moving. So we're going to type in if input dot get key double quotes W and then brackets and then transform dot position. Hopefully I spelled it right. Position. Yeah, I think I did. Plus equals vector 3. Spell it wrong. Vector 3 times time dot delta time and then semicolon. So let me explain what all this means. Vector 3 is it tells us that it has 3 vectors. So we're transforming the position of vector 3 and times time dot delta time, or the frame rate times the frame rate. That makes it so if you're going at 120 frames per second, you're not going faster than if you're running at 30 frames per second. So it offers a similar experience. So I think it's vector 3 dot forward. So now let's go over to Unity. So the forward part makes it so it goes forward. So now let's just select the player. We can either drag this over to add the component of the script to the player, or we can add component scripts player movement. So we can do either of those. And you'll see what happens is we move forwards slightly. Oh, forgot I had a collider to the enemy, I guess. So we're moving forward very slowly. And also I'm just gonna try something out real quick. Fast approximate anti-aliasing. I think that'll make it so it doesn't have Oh, that's also a problem. So one problem is our rigid body, it makes it so we fall over sometimes. So we want to freeze rotation for now of X, Y, and Z. And now it'll not rotate at all. So when we hold the W key, it moves forward. Yeah, so let's make it so we have different directions now. Go back to Visual Studio or Microsoft Visual Studio, whatever you're using, and copy paste all of the if input.get key and the transformed position stuff down. So we're going to press S here in the double quotes and make it back. So now you can see that we also go back. We also go forward. So let's make it so that it's a higher speed. So we want to click up here, press enter, then public float move underscore speed. And here especially is where you want to decide what naming system you want to use. Is it camel case, caps case? They're the same thing. Underscores and camel case, and can use any of those. Just you can't use spaces in programming. So you have to make this so that the move speed has an underscore under it, so so we can understand it better, and then add a semicolon at the end of a function that, well, it's not a function, but like a function, you are an action. At the end of an action, you want to add a semicolon, not to the end of a input or a let's see, I don't know what you would call it. Just if you're using brackets, no semicolon. If you're not using brackets, then yes, add a semicolon. So the brackets say if you press, which is get key, the S key, then when you have your, then brackets means then do this, transform the position in 3 space backwards for the back times the frame rate time dot delta time. So that's what all this means. If you press S, then transform the position in 3D space back times the frame rate. So we're going to multiply before the times dot into time, add move speed to it, and multiply that by time dot delta time. So now it's if we're pressing the S key, then transform position in 3D space backwards times the move speed times the frame rate. So that's what that means. So let's also add that up here, the move speed. So multiply it by the vector 3 dot forward times move speed, and the move speed times time dot delta time, or the frame rate. So I'm just going to add comments by doing // in C#, and now I'm going to add transform position in 3D forward times move speed times frame rate. I'm just gonna spell it like that, so you can add this to both. So now you can see once it recompiles all the scripts, when we play, when we press W, alright, so the player left click the stop playing player, adjust the move speed to like 3, or however much you want it, more or less than the move speed you already did. Now, once you're on the ground, when you press W and S, you move forward and backward times the move speed. You can see over here, if you change this up, then it goes higher if you of a move speed. So you're going to want it to be around 2 to 10 probably. I'm going to set it to 4 maybe. Yeah, and test around with this a little. Test that a little. So now, let's stop playing and go back in here. I will set this to back. And we're going to copy this, paste it, change this to right, and the comment to right, and this to D, and now copy that again, change this to left, change the comment to left, and change the input to A. And now go back over, let it recompile the scripts. And now, when we play, I have my move speed at 3. We have A and D. When you press the A and D keys, it moves around. By the way, if it's not working for you, one reason might be because you may have typed in a capital W or S or D or A, make sure that's a lowercase w. And make sure you don't have caps lock on, because that's bad to have on. No, when it happens, you don't have to not have it on, but just press shift for most of the time then, but sometimes don't for capital letters. Yeah, now we're going to make a jumping thing. So we want to figure out how to basic jump. How we're going to do that is if input dot get key double quotes space, then we're going to transform dot position plus equals vector 3 dot up times let's make new float or variable or int for a different thing, but we're going to use float. So public float jump power, and now times jump power times time dot delta time and we kind of have a problem when did I not add a semicolon somewhere? Yeah, I'm supposed to add semicolon there. Add semicolons to things that aren't using brackets. And there we go. We're just going to set this to like 100. Oh, we want this to be get key down, by the way, so that you don't just keep jumping, kind of. There we go. And now, when we press spacebar, we go up in the air. Slightly. So, I'm going to set my linear dampening a little higher to 0.4, mass, same, and make sure you have interpolate and continuous for your collision detection. That's just what I've heard you should do. I'm not sure really why. You can have it on none and discrete, I guess. Let's see if that works. And it still works. Yeah, it still works. Yeah, that doesn't matter for it. Yeah. So, now, we're going to, make it so that because we don't want to just jump in air. We don't want to be able to jump multiple times in this test game. We aren't going to program a double jump in this, but once you have the concept of C# learned, then you'll be able to. So first, I'll make a public bool of the of grounded if you are on the ground. And now, down here, press enter outside of the void update and type in void on trigger enter in camel case or caps case or whatever you want to call it, capital letters for each new word on the first letter of each new word. On trigger enter, then set grounded equals true. And copy this, paste it, and now change that enter to exit. And now set the grounded to false. So now, when we enter a set trigger collider, then grounded is true. And when we exit a trigger collider, a collider that is set to is trigger, then grounded is set to false. Set to is also on this. Forgot to say that. So now that will just do nothing except set a bool to false or true. So we want to actually make it so that it does do something besides set a bool. So we're going to type in inside the if input.get key down space down here right above the transform.position. We're going to type in if grounded equals, that means if it is false, then with brackets, return. So now, when grounded equals false, when you press space, it'll do nothing. That's what return means. And now, if wait, I should have just done this. I think exclamation mark I think will work the same way as equals false. So if grounded equals true, can also just use the equals. It doesn't matter, don't think. Then left click and drag your mouse over on this line so that all of your transform.position plus equals vectored 3.up times jump power times time.delta time. Press Control X and now left click inside of those brackets, and now I'm just going to and Control V inside of those brackets, and now I'm going to make this so it's not a line by pressing backspace. Here we go. So now, if you press space, then if grounded isn't true, then return or do nothing. If grounded is true, then transform the position in 3D space up times jump power times the frame rate. And that should still barely not work. I can... grounded will just always stay false if you have followed my tutorial, every single thing of it. So we press spacebar, we can't jump. Grounded isn't set true. We manually press it over here, we can jump, and it never sets itself to false in the air. So we can still double, triple, quadruple jump if you really are good at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the ground object and give it another collider. Physics box collider, add component physics box collider. Set this to 1 for some reason. Set it to 0.99999999999, something like that. Infinite nines. So then we're going to set it to is trigger. And now it should work. According to Google, this is how you do it. I just Googled it, and that's what it said. Have 2 box colliders, and set one of them to is trigger and one just keep it default. So now we can see our grounded is true. When we're in the air, it's false. And we can't multiple jump in the air, but there is like a 1 frame window, I think, that you can kind of double jump and get a double as high jump. So just don't look too closely, but that's just a problem with Unity's collision detection and maybe just physics in general, kind of how physics works. So yeah, and that's all I'm going to do. You can tweak your settings all you want. You have your WASD controls and your jump power and your jumping and your grounded ball. So now can show everyone that you technically made a game. In the next tutorial, we will be covering rotation, and I will see you in the next one.